Introduction. Lin Xiao accidentally crossed the Douluo continent and obtained the King of Glory hero character, Lin Xiao template. Under the interweaving of light and darkness, black and white, take a path that belongs only to yourself. Redemption through faith, saving all living beings, a light-winged giant sword stands in front of millions of people. Dark faith and bloodthirsty, unparalleled in killing and attacking. A shadowless long sword buries the breath of all living beings in heaven and earth. This is the battlefield under my command / this is the battlefield that makes me forget my ambitions. I fought for not wanting to die back then. Simply wielding a sword for not wanting to die. Listen to me, I won't let fate take its course. A king without land is no different from a wild beast, but this is ultimately my land. The boy who slaughtered demons eventually became a demon, and the last surviving demon became the savior. One thought reaches the heavens, fearless gods and demons. How can ordinary people like me exterminate gods and demons? This sword, when cut, be beheaded by the gods and demons. This sword is to be judged, and the gods apologize. A hand that can lift a heavy sword blade, but cannot grasp the falling and withering flowers. I want to establish a new Chang'an. Lin Xiao held a heavy sword and gazed at the hundreds of millions of stars above his head. Keywords of the novel. Douluo. One mind of gods and demons, killing and redemption coexist without a pop-up window. Douluo. One mind of gods and demons, killing and redemption coexist. Download the full text. Douluo. One mind of gods and demons, killing and redemption coexist. Latest chapter reading. Chapter 1. Simply waving a sword for not wanting to die. You are listening at novelfull.audio. Chapter 1. Simply waving a sword for not wanting to die. Late at night, the drizzling rain falls on the soil, the hazy moonlight falls on the earth, and everything is covered in a silver-white coat. A young man with long hair was lying on the green lawn, and a gentle rain fell on his face. Lin Xiao slowly opened his eyes, his blurred vision and dizzy brain made him momentarily dazed. Didn't I die? Lin Xiao slowly spoke up. Just now, on his way home from school, he was knocked out by a drunk driver. When he woke up again, it was now. Lin Xiao stood up and looked around. Each of the large trees around him is at least a dozen meters tall, resembling a legendary primitive forest, and the size of the vegetation exceeds his knowledge. Perhaps I have traveled through time. Lin Xiao looked surprised and said. Before Lin Xiao could guess the world he was crossing, waves of movement could be heard from the bushes behind him. Shwa shwa shwa. Lin Xiao suddenly turned back, his eyes fixed on the bushes behind him. After the bushes shook violently for a few times, a tall and terrifying figure caught Lin Xiao's eye. I see, a giant spider, measuring 4 to 5 meters in length and about 2 to 3 meters in height, was staring at him, and surprisingly, it had a strange face that looked particularly eerie. This is... Lin Xiao's eyes widened, and he recognized the obvious feature of the human-faced magic spider at first glance. Lin Xiao was just stunned for a moment, then he ran away. Mad, surprisingly crossed the Douluo world, starting with a hellish difficulty level. Lin Xiao roast while running. The human-faced magic spider is known as the Evil Slayer, the Soul Master killing machine, and the Soul Beast used by the Tang San Emperor. Moreover, the body size and leg length of this human-faced magic spider have obviously exceeded 100 years, and it is a soul beast at the level of 1,000 years. Lin Xiao is an ordinary person, how can he compete with it alone? Lin Xiao kept fleeing in the dense forest. However, this forest is already the home ground of the human-faced magic spider, and the Millennium Soul Beast's physical strength, speed, and other attributes are far superior to Lin Xiao. In just a few tens of seconds, Lin Xiao was forced into a corner. The human-faced magic spider slowly approached Lin Xiao, with a terrifying smile on his face. As someone who has just died once, Lin Xiao no longer wants to experience the feeling of death. That feeling, the feeling of death, is very cold and lonely. Lin Xiao struggled to avoid the deadly sickle of the human face spider, perhaps due to a breakthrough in human instincts before death. Surprisingly, Lin Xiao avoided the attacks of the human face spider one after another. But this move obviously angered the human-faced magic spider. The human-faced magic spider no longer chose to waste time. With its big mouth open, a pure and white spider web attacked and killed Lin Xiao. The speed of the spider web was very fast and the range was very large, and Lin Xiao could only watch helplessly as the spider web trapped him. Lin Xiao's body was trembling violently, not only because of fear, but also due to the surge of adrenaline in his body. The human-faced magic bead saw Lin Xiao trapped by his own spider silk, lifted his leg, and fell fiercely with a knife. Lin Xiao raised his head and looked at the sickle about to fall, which was also death. After a daze flashed in his eyes, he immediately froze and grabbed a branch from the ground to chop towards the human-faced magic spider. "I don't want to die yet." This scene, under the bright moonlight, as if it had become an eternal image, frozen in an instant. And at this moment, suddenly, Lin Xiao's eyes were filled with strings of words. Host. Lin Xiao. Gender. Male. Age. 16. Play value. 0. Play template. To be unlocked. Play progress. To be unlocked. Play them all. To be unlocked. Currently, the play template can be unlocked once. Do you want to unlock it? Seeing this sentence, Lin Xiao's eyes were immediately filled with hope. Without much thought, Lin Xiao decisively pressed to unlock. The next moment, a golden light enveloped Lin Xiao's body. The human-faced magic spider was directly shaken away by this terrifying and irresistible energy. At this moment, Lin Xiao's appearance was also undergoing a drastic change. His originally weak body, shrouded in this energy, became sturdy, with perfect wide shoulders and slim waist, and he looked thin when dressed. A long black hair dyed with gold, and the clothes on the body constantly changed into a black robe, holding a heavy sword in his hand. Lin Xiao immediately knew who the template for playing the character was when he saw the clothes on his body and the heavy sword in his hand. Lin Xiao wielded his sword purely for the sake of not wanting to die. A hint of sharpness flashed in Lin Xiao's narrow and deep eyes, and his red robe kept floating behind him. He held a heavy sword and slowly walked towards the human-faced magic spider. The human-faced magic spider saw Lin Xiao's sudden change in temperament, and a hint of fear flashed in his eyes. However, due to Lin Xiao's previous strength, he still did not consider him in his eyes. The human-faced magic spider can release its web 3 times a day. It was just the first time, but at this moment, the human-faced magic spider is preparing to release it for the second time. I see. Just as the mouth of the human-faced magic spider was about to open, Lin Xiao's eyes froze and his heavy sword fell fiercely towards the human-faced magic spider. Hiss. The human-faced magic spider let out a pitiful and eerie cry. Lin Xiao heard the terrifying scream of the human-faced magic spider, and his eyes were filled with a hint of excitement. He felt that the blood in his body was boiling at this moment, and the killing and blood would excite him. In just a moment, the human-faced magic spider lay on the ground, barely breathing, with all 8 legs cut off by Lin Xiao. Lin Xiao slowly lifted his heavy sword, his eyes cold and indifferent, and it fell fiercely towards the head of the magic bead in the human face. With a splash of blood, the scent of the human-faced magic spider completely disappeared. In an instant, it is an incredibly enchanting Millennium Soul Ring. Lin Xiao realized that he didn't seem to need to absorb soul rings, because during the recent battle, his playing value skyrocketed by 20%, and Lin Xiao also felt that his strength also soared at this moment. Host. Lin Xiao. Gender. Male. Age. 16. Play value. 2000. Role model. Lin Xiao. Play progress. 20%, 50% can unlock new forms. The form is the One Mind God and Demon Collection Edition, Play Mall. Not yet opened, automatically opens when the play progress reaches 50%. I didn't expect to have such strength with only 20% of the acting progress. If it reaches around 50.60, I'm afraid I can easily kill the title Douluo. Lin Xiao spoke excitedly. When he played less than 20% of the role, he was able to easily kill the Millennium Human-faced magic spider, and now his strength is at least around that of the Soul King. After all, the worldview is different. Lin Xiao is in his world, but he is the one who slaughters everything and redeems everything. The gods and demons, in front of Lin Xiao, are nothing but a sword. It's both light and darkness. After all, Douluo is a well-known fantasy sewer, and Lin Xiao's foundation and upper limit far exceed those of Douluo locals. The arrival of a savior will surely be accompanied by a demon. End of this chapter. Chapter 2. Covenant on Protection of the Law. You are listening at novelfull.audio. Chapter 2 Covenant on Protection of the Law. In the coming months, Lin Xiao has been wandering around the forest, drinking mountain spring water when thirsty, and eating soul beast meat when hungry. He spends his days constantly killing and logging. I don't know if it's a star or a sunset here. It's been spinning for over a month and I haven't even walked out of the forest yet. Lin Xiao sat by the campfire and took a bite of the grilled phoenix-tail coxcomb snake in his hand. Chicken flavor, crunchy and crispy, the only drawback is that there is no seasoning, and the taste is relatively light. Open the panel. Lin Xiao silently recited in his heart. Host. Lin Xiao. Gender. Male. Age. 16. Play value. 2300. Role model. Lin Xiao. Play progress. 23%, 50% can unlock new forms. The form is the One Mind God and Demon Collection Edition, Play Mall. Not yet opened, automatically opens when the play progress reaches 50%. In this month, although Lin Xiao's portrayal has only increased by 3%, his strength has made tremendous progress. Lin Xiao's basic data is too high. Even if it only increases his role by 1%, Lin Xiao's strength will skyrocket. It seems like leaving the forest as soon as possible, and I don't know what time period it is now. Lin Xiao thought to himself. Just as Lin Xiao finished his meal and was about to rest, waves of soul power and the sound of fighting suddenly came from not far away. Lin Xiao immediately regained his spirits. He had been in the forest for over a month, unfamiliar with the place, without a map, and had not even seen a living person. Now that he has encountered it, he must seize this hard-won opportunity. Lin Xiao followed the sound of the fight to find the exact location. I see, a woman is fighting alone with a perennial soul beast. The woman wore long golden hair like a waterfall, and her exquisite and perfect appearance seemed to come from the hands of a deity. Her noble and beautiful golden white robe danced wildly in the wind. Is this Qianren Snow? Lin Xiao's eyes were extremely surprised when he saw Qianren Snow. Qianren Xue, the daughter of former Pope Qian Shuji and Pope Bibidong. A peerless genius with innate soul power of level 20, ultimately achieving the throne of an angel god. Qianren Xue is currently the Soul King, and his aura is also at level 60. It seems that he has come to obtain the 6th soul ring. So, the current time period is also clear. Lin Xiao groped his chin and pulled his way. Qianren Xue, due to pretending to be Shueqing River in the Tiando Palace all year round, has significantly slowed down the speed of soul power cultivation. However, even so, when Qianren Xue was exposed, his first displayed strength was already a level 66 Soul Emperor level powerhouse. If we calculate that Qianren has been upgraded by more than one level in a year, now it should be 6 or 7 years ago when Qianren first revealed her identity. Just as Lin Xiao was pondering, holding the angel lightsaber, Qianren Xue's beautiful eyes froze. The angel lightsaber was lifted above her head and suddenly fell, piercing through the 10,000-year-old level light giant lizard with a chilling sword aura. The bright giant lizard widened its eyes and fell into a pool of blood, with a look of unwillingness in its eyes. It's not a pity that a genius with innate soul power of level 20 was able to single brush such a high-aged bright giant lizard. Lin Xiao, who was hiding in the dark, couldn't help but exclaim in admiration. Suddenly, Qian Renxue suddenly turned around, her beautiful eyes fixed, and she shouted angrily in the direction of Lin Xiao, who is there. Lin Xiao's body trembled upon hearing this, and a hint of surprise flashed in his eyes. Surprisingly discovered, it seems that those two old foxes are indeed in the dark. What Lin Xiao was thinking in his heart was the two major titles of Douluo in the Elder's Hall, the Tsigu Douluo and the Snake Spear Douluo. Both of them are close guards of Qian Renxue, constantly protecting her safety in the dark. They are both level 92 title Douluo, who is already standing at the highest point of the entire continent. With Lin Xiao's current strength, they are no match for those two people. The difference in strength between the two sides is too great, and Lin Xiao has no chance of escaping. Lin Xiao slowly walked out of the grass. At this moment, Lin Xiao was also dressed in disheveled golden hair, with narrow and deep eyes, and a perfectly shaved face. Coupled with his black and red cloak, he exuded a noble and prince aura. And Li Xian was already a prince. Who are you? Why are you hiding in the dark? After feeling the luxurious temperament on Lin Xiao's body, Qian Renshue's eyes flashed with a killing intent. This kind of temperament cannot be imitated. Even if a born prince or royal family wears beggar clothes, they still retain this luxurious temperament. The result of this temperament is that Qian Renxue has misunderstood that Lin Xiao is a member of the Heavenly Dou Empire or the royal family of the Star Luo Empire. My name is Li Xian. I accidentally entered this forest a month ago and have not found my way back yet. I just heard the sound of fighting here, so I came to take a look. Lin Xiao's gaze was calm, and his cold and luxurious temperament was similar to that of Qian Renxue. Their temperament was very similar. Li Xian. Last name Li. A hint of doubt flashed in Qian Renshue's eyes, as the imperial surnames of the Heavenly Dou Empire and the Star Luo Empire were not Li. This can only indicate that Li Xian should come from a small kingdom. As for doubting the truth of Lin Xiao's words, Qian Renxue did not doubt it, because when the other party said their name, not only did they not show any humble actions, but they also had a sense of pride and nobility born from their hearts. Miss, please absorb the soul ring first, I can protect you. Lin Xiao slowly spoke up. Protector. 1,000 towering snow foxes cast a doubt. If she were here alone, she wouldn't have let a stranger protect her. But his two titled Douluo uncles are also in the dark, so Li Xian is at most 20 years old and cannot be his uncle's opponent at all. Exactly, it can also be used to observe whether the other party has ulterior motives. Okay, my name is Qian Renxue. Could you please help me? After Qian Renxue agreed, he sat cross-legged on the ground and began to absorb the eternal soul ring of this bright giant lizard. Lin Xiao knew that Qian Renxue was trying to test himself, and he deliberately proposed the idea of protecting the law in order to dispel the hostility of Qian Renxue and the others towards him. Lin Xiao suddenly slowly lifted his hand towards Qian Renxue. The piercing blood Douluo's eyes in the dark flashed with a fierce expression. This kid really has ulterior motives and dares to take action against the young master. It seems that I have peeled his skin. The blood-piercing Douluo is a ferocious and evil way. Just as thorny blood Douluo was about to take action to kill Lin Xiao, the snake spear Douluo beside him furrowed his brow and quickly grabbed thorny blood Douluo. Something's wrong, don't take any action yet. I see, with a flick of Lin Xiao's finger, several golden sword auras instantly enveloped the snow, and the scattered leaves fell on the sword aura. In the blink of an eye, they were cut into hundreds of small pieces. Immediately, Lin Xiao leaned against the tree, slowly closing his eyes and quietly calming down. How could this kid really be protecting the young master? Thorny Blood Douluo widened his eyes and looked incredulous. Sting Blood, do you think that's a soul bone? Snake Spear Douluo pointed at the soul bone on the corpse of the bright lizard and exclaimed in surprise. End of this chapter. Chapter 3. I am from Chang'an. You are listening at novelfull.audio. The source has no content or has errors. Chapter 4. Symphony of Fate. You are listening at novelfull.audio. Chapter 4 Symphony of Fate. Late at night, the hazy moonlight scattered throughout the forest. Lin Xiao and Qian Xiue sat by the campfire, leaning against a large tree and resting with their eyes closed. Although it was already late at night, Lin Xiao did not feel any drowsiness. Chang'an. Lin Xiao suddenly murmured softly in his mouth. He didn't know if he was infected by the Lin Xiao template, and for the first time, he had an inexplicable impact on the elusive name of Chang'an. Nowadays, Douluo continent is divided into 3 parts of the world. Star Luo Empire, Heavenly Do Empire, Martial Soul Hall. In the face of such a situation, it is too difficult to create a new force and squeeze into it, sharing the world together. But, the progress of life is always constantly challenging, falling, and getting up time and time again. At this thought, a hint of determination flashed in Lin Xiao's eyes. One day, I will make the name of Chang'an reappear in the world. Lin Xiao slowly stood up, with a bright white moonlight falling on him. His messy golden hair seemed to have a silver halo attached, and the cloak behind him danced lightly in the evening breeze. This kid. The Snake Spear and bloodthirsty Douluo, hiding in the dark, both looked at Lin Xiao with admiring eyes. The destitute prince of a country's downfall still has such thoughts and perseverance. It would be great if he were born in our martial soul hall. The Snake Spear Douluo spoke in a regretful tone. At this moment, the blood-piercing Douluo suddenly looked not far away, his eyes fixed, and he quickly said, "No, it's a ghost tiger." Snake Spear Douluo followed the sound of blood Douluo and looked at the ghost tiger. This ghost tiger is huge in size, with palms half the size of a person. Its eyes are filled with a murderous aura, and saliva keeps dripping onto the ground from its mouth. This ghost tiger seems to have been around for 50,000 years. We need to remind Lin Xiao and the young master as soon as possible. Snake Spear Douluo's eyes were worried. The two of them just wanted to remind Lin Xiao and Qian Xiue. I saw that Lin Xiao was carrying a heavy sword and walking alone towards the direction of the ghost tiger. Is this kid crazy? He wants to take on that ghost tiger on his own. The blood-piercing Douluo's pupils suddenly contracted, and a hint of shock flashed in his eyes. Lin Xiao approached the ghost tiger. After seeing Lin Xiao, the ghost tiger's fierce eyes flashed with excitement, and the saliva in its mouth increased. This ghost tiger had not eaten for 3 days and 3 nights. Nowadays, Lin Xiao, who takes the initiative to deliver to his doorstep, is like giving charcoal in the snow. After all, even the smallest mosquito is still meat. Roar, roar. The ghost tiger roared upwards, and the deafening roar covered the entire forest. The ground and trees trembled violently at this moment. This is tiger roar. The terrifying deterrence can cause most soul beasts to lose their combat ability in the first place. Qian Xiue, who was resting, was also awakened by this tiger roar. Qian Xiue got up and looked around, realizing that Lin Xiao was no longer there. Qian Xiue immediately got up and followed the sound of the tiger's roar to rush away. And Lin Xiao has already engaged with Ghost Tiger. The palm power of the Ghost Tiger is very terrifying. Every time it swipes through the air, it can emit a deafening roar. While possessing such terrifying power, the Ghost Tiger also has extremely fast speed. Lin Xiao lifted his heavy sword in his hand, constantly interweaving and chopping with the Ghost Tiger. His crimson blood was scattered in the night sky, and the moonlight reflected the blood exceptionally beautifully. After a night of tinkering, Lin Xiao's portrayal unexpectedly skyrocketed to 45%. Nowadays, Lin Xiao's strength is no longer comparable to that of the Soul Emperor. Even Soul Masters at the Soul Douluo level have to avoid it by 3 points. Moreover, Lin Xiao also possesses a sword like a divine artifact, and the weight of this sword will increase according to Lin Xiao's strength. Now, its weight has exceeded 10,000 pounds. Tang San's trident of the sea god can weigh up to 18,000 pounds, but Lin Xiao's current portrayal is only 45%, and every 1% increase will result in a qualitative improvement. Let me sacrifice you to the last blade before I step out of the forest. Lin Xiao carried the heavy sword on his shoulder with one hand, his golden hair dancing wildly in the wind, and his soul power instantly exploded to the extreme. The terrifying fluctuations of soul power soared into the sky, leaving countless soul beasts in awe. After sensing the terrifying soul power fluctuations on Lin Xiao's body, the ghost tiger's massive body trembled with fear. It was afraid of Lin Xiao. And standing behind, Qian Renxue saw this behind the scenes, and her beautiful eyes had already stirred up a storm. He is so strong. Qian Renxue stared at Lin Xiao's back in a daze. That back, loneliness, vicissitudes, as if a shadow from the darkness. But in this lonely silhouette, there is hidden indomitability, resilience, and nobility, like a burnt wild grass. Although it is on the brink of death, it carries the hope of breaking through limitations, everything, and being reborn at any time. Open up. Lin Xiao rushed out from the dazzling light, like a shooting star twinkling in the night sky. In an instant of glory, the extremely sharp sword pierced through the night sky and the body of the ghost tiger, and the passing of light coincided with the passing of the ghost tiger's life, like a perfect and beautiful symphony, playing quietly under the bright and quiet moonlight. The massive body of the ghost tiger collapsed in a pool of blood. A pitch-black eternal soul ring emerged from the dead body. Lin Xiao bent his finger and fired a shot, and a sharp sword energy directly shattered this eternal soul ring. And the sound of the broken soul ring seemed to announce the end of the song. Lin Xiao turned around, but it was discovered that, a stunning and beautiful figure was staring at him from behind. The hazy moonlight generously shone the most beautiful radiance on two people. Two people with 4 eyes facing each other. After a long time, Qian Renxue suddenly realized something and quickly turned her head, but her gaze seemed to be evasive and timid. In fairy tales, every female lead will always meet a happy male lead. The male protagonist may not have appearance, strength, or power, but he must have an upward and unyielding heart. At this moment, Lin Xiao has everything that a male protagonist has, and those things that the male protagonist does not have, Lin Xiao also has them. Girls always admire strength, but they are not promiscuous. Because they are all waiting for someone who can pry open their hearts. No matter how long, no matter how far. And the same goes for teenagers. Just, I want to buy osmanthus and carry wine, but in the end, it's different. Youth tour. People will always be trapped for a lifetime by things that are unattainable at a young age. The encounter between the two under the moonlight was like a symphony of fate, but it is unknown whether the final ending of this piece will be happy or sad. This kid, can he have this kind of strength at such an age? Even the unparalleled genius Tang Hao from a few years ago, at Li Xian's age, could not have achieved it. I am really looking forward to Li Xian's future performance on the mainland more and more. The snake spear Douluo spoke excitedly. Being able to witness the rise of a peerless genius is not the long-standing wish of every older generation. End of this chapter. Chapter 5. Listening to heaven will not be determined by destiny. You are listening at novelfull.audio. Chapter 5. Listening to heaven will not be determined by destiny. Li Xian, are you a soul Douluo? Qian Renxue looked at the noble and mysterious man in front of him with a puzzled expression in his eyes. Almost so. Lin Xiao said with a calm gaze. Lin Xiao didn't lie either. He currently plays 45% of the role, and his strength even surpasses the majority of Seoul Douluo. However, he is still some distance away from the title Douluo, but if he kills Douluo with blood, Lin Xiao is also confident that he can exchange with some weaker title Douluo to the extreme. So impressive, I should be a few years older than you, but I'm just the Seoul Emperor. Qianren Shui sighed and said. Don't underestimate yourself, you are very strong. In the whole continent, your talent is also unparalleled. But your heart is bound. Lin Xiao looked at Qianren Shui calmly and said. Heart, bound. Qianren Shui's eyes were surprised. Lin Xiao quietly gazed at Qianren Shui, who felt a little anxious when he was staring at her. You are no longer just waving your sword for yourself, there are many external forces that prevent you from making progress. Lin Xiao slowly spoke up. Upon hearing these words, Qianren Shui's delicate body trembled suddenly, her pupils contracted slightly, and her heart was filled with awe. How did he know? Qianren Shui lost her father at a young age, and her mother Bibi Dong never cared for her, and she also despised Qianren Shui very much. This also led to Qianren Shui not having a good childhood. From the day of the council member, he chose to go to the Tiando Empire to pretend to be Zuiking in order to prove himself to his mother Bibi Dong. From that moment on, Qianren Shui's path of cultivation is already incomplete, with flaws starting to appear. In addition, pretending to be Shui Qinghe without time for cultivation, these many factors have led to Qianren Shui falling into a very deep bottleneck. Otherwise, how could the cultivation speed of the divine level martial soul six-winged angel, with innate full soul power of level 20, be so slow? Qianren Shui, as your friend, I need to remind you. Living is not for the sake of others, but for oneself. Clarify your inner path and not be influenced by your surroundings. Your sword is not pure, and so is your heart. I hope the next time I see you, you will become different and become the true version of yourself. Lin Xiao looked at Qianren Shui and slowly spoke up. Next time. Li Xian, are you leaving now? Upon hearing Li Xian's words, Qianren Shui felt inexplicably reluctant. But why did she have such thoughts when they only knew each other for less than a day? Because he's different, special. Or is it the courage to be unwilling to accept fate and brave enough to wield a sword towards the sky? Alternatively, have you been walking alone for many years and suddenly gained a companion who can understand and encourage you? Qianren Shui's heart is filled with mixed flavors at this moment. Well, this is already the border of the sunset forest, and I can walk out on my own. I also have my own path to follow. Although, I know this road is not easy to follow. I would rather die on my own path than live a peaceful life on someone else's path. Listen to the heavens, not by fate. Goodbye, Qianren Snow. Goodbye, Li Xian. Lin Xiao left, leaving only a silhouette, gradually engulfed by darkness. Qianren Shui watched as Lin Xiao's back left and froze in place for a long time, murmuring in her mouth. Is it your own path? After breaking free from the 1,000-foot snow, Lin Xiao did not rush to leave the sunset forest. To create a top-level force or rebuild Chang'an, it requires a lot of resources and manpower. And in the sunset forest, there happens to be Ice and Fire Two Eyes. A natural treasure trove that is rare to see for millions of years. There are countless immortal herbs and top-notch herbs planted inside, each of which has the effect of changing the fate of soul masters. Just like the Shrek 7 monsters in the original work. In addition to the protagonist Wang Tang-san, as well as the Oscar. Others lack the talent to become gods, and even the title Douluo is difficult to reach. Even though Ma Hongjun possesses the ultimate martial soul, the Fire Phoenix, his body is filled with evil fire that is deadly. The solution was ultimately achieved thanks to Tang San bringing the immortal grass, Phoenix Tail Cocktail Kue, from the eyes of the ice and fire Liangi, which allowed Ma Hongjun's evil fire to be refined and purified. Although these immortal herbs are of little use to Lin Xiao, they have great potential for cultivating future trusted subordinates. Lin Xiao roughly planned the route for going out, and then plunged into the sunset forest, heading towards the path of searching for the ice and fire two eyes. A few days later. Martial Soul City, Temple of Worship. Douluo Douluo is also one of the three peerless Douluo in the world, with the title of Invincible in the Sky and Terrifying Strength. Douluo stood in front of the window, looking down at the letter in his hand with a slight frown. Li Xiao. He comes from Chang'an and has the level of Soul Douluo at the age of less than 20. It's really surprising. Upon hearing this, the golden crocodile Douluo beside him also had a look of shock in his eyes. As one of the oldest and most experienced title Douluo on the mainland, golden crocodile Douluo possesses a terrifying power of 98 levels and is also the predecessor of the vast title Douluo. Such talents, even though I have lived for hundreds of years, I have never seen them. As the young master suggests, this Chang'an seems to come from a distant overseas. Is it possible that this world has more than just our Douluo continent? The golden crocodile Douluo looked puzzled and said. Douluo took back the letter and slowly spoke, "This world is very big. We are just frogs at the bottom of the well, just like the ethereal divine realm, which is also real, but we don't have the ability to touch it." Since Li Xiao was able to cross countless oceans and reach the Douluo continent, it indicates that he and the country named Chang'an are very powerful. Jean Crocodile Douluo nodded and said, "Li Xiao is so talented and willful. Since he doesn't want to enter our martial soul hall, he may become the enemy of our martial soul hall in the future. Should we send someone?" Upon hearing the words of the golden crocodile Douluo, Douluo shook his head and said, "Shuer mentioned in the letter that she has already become friends with Li Xiao. Let's not take action against him." "You were so careful," Shuer had already guessed. "Hehe, big offering, I'm also here for the martial soul hall." Golden crocodile Douluo showed an awkward smile. "Well, there has been some unrest lately, with some unexpected things happening. Someone has been sent to make Bibi Dong calm down a bit. Although she is the Pope, this martial soul hall still has the surname Qian. 1,000 streams of light and majesty. Yes, a grand offering. Sunset forest, eyes of ice and fire." After several days of searching, Lin Xiao finally found the location of the ice and fire Lianyi eyes. The cave outside the ice and fire two eyes is covered with an emerald green poisonous mist. Currently, this ice and fire two eyes is the territory of Douluo and Dugu. These poisonous mist may be useful for other soul masters under the title Douluo, but they are somewhat insignificant in front of Lin Xiao. Li Xiao is both a light and an embodiment of darkness. For light, it can drive away all evil and redeem all sentient beings. For darkness, it can devour all light and pierce through a realm. Although the form of light has not yet been unlocked, but Lin Xiao already had a light and dark prototype inside his body, completely fearless of these snake venoms. P.S. New books and authors, seeking collection, seeking follow-up reading, seeking monthly passes, members who have read more than 100 plus more. End of this chapter. Chapter 6. Why? You are listening at novelfull.audio. Chapter 6 Why? As Lin Xiao passed through layers of poisonous mist, an old voice suddenly sounded from behind Lin Xiao. "At such an age, I am not afraid of the old man's poisonous mist." Lin Xiao slowly turned around. An elderly man with white hair and green robes stood silently behind Lin Xiao, like a ghost. "Kid, this is my territory. Be sensible and get out of here, otherwise don't blame my subordinates for being ruthless." Dugu looked at Lin Xiao calmly and said. Dugu has always been ruthless and ruthless. If an ordinary soul master accidentally breaks into his territory, he will definitely not let the other person leave alive. However, Lin Xiao's innate imperial temperament surprised Dugu, an old monster who had lived for many years. However, Dugu, who had lived for many years, was not foolish either. Lin Xiao's attire and temperament before him were obviously different from ordinary people. "Are you Dugu?" Lin Xiao looked calmly at Dugu, without any fear on his face. Upon hearing that Lin Xiao recognized his identity, Dugu's eyes flashed with surprise. "Since you recognize me, why don't you get out of here? Kid, since it's not easy for you to cultivate, I don't want to hurt the assassin," Dugu said in a cold tone. "What if I don't leave?" Lin Xiao's eyes remained calm and his tone remained calm. The next moment, Dugu suddenly stepped on the ground with his toes and attacked Lin Xiao. "Then die." Dugu's speed was very fast, and in just a few breaths, he came to Lin Xiao's body. His right hand emitted a faint emerald green light, and he punched Lin Xiao. Lin Xiao also clenched his right fist and handed it out to Dugu's fist. Fist-to-fist collision. A terrifying wave of power blew away all the fallen leaves and poisonous mist around. Lin Xiao's body took 4 or 5 steps back, while Dugu only took 1 step back. Lin Xiao raised his slightly numb arm and said to himself, "It seems there is still a slight gap between him and the title Douluo. How could that be? This kid looks about the same size as a wild goose, how could he take my attack?" Dugu's heart instantly stirred up a wave of turbulence. Although he is the tail of the crane in the title Douluo, there is a huge difference between the title Douluo and the one below it. Even a level 89 soul Douluo usually cannot withstand 3 moves in front of him. But what kind of ghost is this blonde little ghost in front of me? Could it be that he has already cultivated to the level of soul Douluo at such an age, or even been titled Douluo? The more Dugu thought about it, the more terrifying it became. The power that can cultivate such a peerless genius will also be a behemoth. "Kid, where do you come from? At such an age, you have such strength." Dugu suppressed his composure and began questioning Lin Xiao. "I come from Chang'an." Lin Xiao slowly spoke up. "Chang'an." Dugu let out a doubt. "A force that has never been heard of before. Kid, I was reckless before. Please leave, let's just pretend that today's incident didn't happen." Dugu decided to take a step back and cultivate to the level of title Douluo. Who wouldn't be stepping on countless corpses and being cunning? Facing a peerless genius and a mysterious and unpredictable force, making enemies easily is definitely not a wise choice. "I'm sorry, I came here just for the fairy grass in the eyes of ice and fire." As Lin Xiao spoke, he summoned the Tu Xing heavy sword and carried it on his shoulder. His messy golden hair covered his deep and sharp eyes. "That's enough. Kid, I keep giving in. Since you don't understand what's good or bad, then die." Dugu let out a furious shout, and a flash of anger flashed in his eyes. The blue phosphorus snake emperor's martial soul behind him instantly possessed him. The third soul skill, the blue phosphorus enchanting soul formation. As soon as the words fell, Dugu's body was replaced by a poisonous mist and disappeared in place. Lin Xiao kept looking around. The next moment, Lin Xiao's back emitted a cold and gloomy aura, and a poisonous mist suddenly floated behind him. Dugu's figure rushed out of the mist. "Kid, go to hell." Dugu leaped up and flipped in the air, accumulating momentum, and kicked Lin Xiao hard in the back. Okay, all of this was already within Lin Xiao's expectations. Lin Xiao, carrying his shoulders, fell down from the Tu Xing, and Dugu's fists were firmly tied against it. Lin Xiao then turned around and kicked Dugu's lower abdomen. Puff! The powerful force directly arched Dugu's body, causing him to fly backwards and glide for several tens of meters before slowing down. Lin Xiao is a person who has been guarding his homeland on the Great Wall since he was young. He has gone through wars and countless killings, and has never retreated in the face of billions of demon species. His close combat skills have already reached their peak. For the first time, Dugu felt a strong sense of crisis from the blonde young man in front of him. Dugu wiped the bloodstain from the corner of his mouth, his face extremely heavy, and the blue phosphorus snake emperor's martial soul behind him roared up to the sky. The foul smell in the air is getting heavier and heavier. This also means that, Dugu needs to be serious. He is already at the bottom of the title Douluo in terms of strength and melee skills. And his true method is poison, the extremely violent snake venom. In the original work, Dugu once achieved a remarkable feat of poisoning one city by one, and later generations bestowed upon him the title of Butcher. Although Dugu is basically unable to compete alone with any title Douluo. But, Dugu can defeat a force to the point where only the title Douluo remains. As soon as the 9th soul skill is performed, if there were no special poison-free martial souls, no soul master under the title Douluo could withstand 10 seconds in Dugu's poison. Kid, you're proud enough to force me to use the blue phosphorus snake emperor poison. Blue phosphorus snake venom. Dugu suddenly slapped his hands on the lower abdomen of the blue phosphorus snake emperor's martial soul. In the next moment, the blue phosphorus snake emperor opened his bloody mouth towards Lin Xiao, and a strange and pungent odor rushed towards his face, accompanied by the deadly green snake venom. Lin Xiao wrinkled his nose slightly when he smelled the foul smell in the air, and his body suddenly burst into light, with 2 different shades of light. These 2 rays of light interweave with each other. Form a light-dark barrier. Dugu's snake venom is completely isolated by a barrier, unable to penetrate even a fraction. Dugu was stunned when he saw that his snake venom had no effect on Lin Xiao. Damn it, why? How can this blonde little ghost be completely immune to my snake venom? Impossible, absolutely impossible. Damn it, I still don't believe it. It must be that I opened it in the wrong way. Dugu once again fiercely patted the lower abdomen of the blue phosphorus snake emperor, and a green poisonous mist washed over Lin Xiao again. Just, this time, the toxic mist is still isolated by Lin Xiao's barrier. No, it must be fake, try again. No, come again. Come again. 15 minutes later. Dugu once again prepared to take a picture of the lower abdomen of the blue phosphorus snake emperor. I see, the blue phosphorus snake emperor shook his head wildly, and a humanized and frightened expression appeared on the snake's face. Then, he quickly slipped into Dugu's body. Mad, you are my martial soul. Get out of here quickly. Dugu was instantly furious as he looked at the retracted blue phosphorus snake emperor. End of this chapter. Chapter 7. Dugu, why don't you listen to the seal? You are listening at novelfull.audio. The source has no content or has errors. Chapter 8. Conspiracy for major events. You are listening at novelfull.audio. The source has no content or has errors. Chapter 9. Grandpa, he changed. You are listening at novelfull.audio. Chapter 9. Grandpa, he changed, listen attentively. A hint of curiosity flashed in Lin Xiao's eyes. It's very simple, that's to combine these 2 methods into one. First, we win the Great Do Soul Field, then turn it into an auction house, and finally regularly buy precious herbs in the eyes of ice and fire Lianyi. This way, I have a stable and substantial income in Chang'an. And, in this way, I have my first base in Chang'an. As long as I have a base, the road ahead will be unobstructed. Cultivate spies to inquire about intelligence, cultivate talented younger generations, and many problems will be easily solved. Dugu smiled and said. Very good, Dugu. I really didn't misread anyone. Just do as you say. After helping your granddaughter treat the snake venom, we will set off immediately. Lin Xiao looked at Dugu and said with a faint smile. The next day, a fiery red sun slowly rose from the horizon, and the golden sunlight shone on the entire sunset forest. In the distance, a ray of fish belly white appeared on the horizon. Lin Xiao slept in Dugu's cave last night, while Dugu Bo returned to Tiando City overnight and brought his granddaughter Dugu Yen to the ice and fire Liangyi eyes. Dugu Yen followed behind Dugu Bo with a curious expression on her face. She knew that her grandfather was here to take her to see someone who could detoxify her body. Entering the cave, Lin Xiao sat in bed with his eyes closed to rest, while contemplating his future development direction. Coming, Dugu Bo. The speed is a bit slow. Lin Xiao slowly opened his eyes, his golden pupils as indifferent as ice. Who are you? How dare you call my grandfather's name directly? Before Dugu Bo could speak, Dugu Yen, standing next to him, was the first to question. After all, Lin Xiao in front of her looked about the same age as her, and her grandfather was still respected by thousands of people and even titled Douluo. In the eyes of Dugu Yen, Lin Xiao's behavior was very impolite. Dugu Bo's eyes widened and he quickly knelt down on one knee, looking respectfully at Lin Xiao, saying, "Your Highness, my granddaughter is unaware and has lost her courtesy. I apologize to you." Dugu Yen was stunned when he saw Dugu Bo kneeling on the ground. His grandfather, the high-ranking Douluo, never knelt down even when facing the emperor of the heavenly Do Empire, the Snow Knight Emperor. How could she be so respectful to a young man of her age now? Don't be stunned, Yen, kneel down and admit your mistake to your highness. Dugu Bo's voice pulled Dugu Yen back from his confused thoughts. Grandpa. Dugu Yen felt a bit aggrieved in her heart, inexplicably, but she usually listens to her grandfather's words the most. Dugu Yen was about to apologize to Lin Xiao when he slowly walked towards Dugu Bo and helped him up from the ground. Those who don't know are not guilty, Dugu Bo. In your eyes, is my highness very cautious? Lin Xiao looked at Dugu Bo and said with a faint smile. Your highness, yeah, it's because I'm too worried. Dugu Bo's expression was somewhat awkward. Immediately, Lin Xiao turned his head to look at Dugu Yen. The golden and indifferent pupils met the eerie green pupils. Extend your hand. Lin Xiao slowly spoke up. Ah. Oh. Dugu Yen dared not say anything more when she saw how respectful her grandfather was to the young blonde in front of her. Lin Xiao placed his 2 fingers in the palm of Dugu Yan's hand, emitting a dazzling golden light. A divine and bright energy wandered around Dugu Yan's body. The next moment, Dugu Yan's body also emitted a golden light, and at this moment, Dugu Yan's emerald green pupils gradually faded. After a moment, Lin Xiao withdrew his hand. Dugu Bo, I have already detoxified most of your granddaughter's poison. If I wanted to completely detoxify her, I would naturally be able to do the same. However, your granddaughter's poison skill will dissipate, and there is no difference between a non-venomous blue phosphorus snake and a useless martial soul blue silver grass. When you come back, I will search for a suitable soul bone for your granddaughter, and then force the remaining toxins into the soul bone. Lin Xiao watched as Dugu Bo slowly spoke up. Thank you very much, Your Highness. Dugu Bo spoke respectfully. It's almost time, take your granddaughter with you to the Tiando Empire. On the way, Your Highness, can you also get a fairy grass for my granddaughter Yen when you come back? Dugu Bo looked at Lin Xiaoqi and smiled. Lin Xiao glanced at Dugu Yen beside him, his golden eyes seeming to be able to discern everything, and then slowly spoke up. My talent is average. It's a bit wasteful to use fairy grass for her. Upon hearing this, Dugu Yen frowned and her anger, which had accumulated in her heart, completely erupted. I am the best student at the Tiando Royal Academy. Our Tiando Royal Academy is the best academy in the empire. If my talent is average, then there are not many good students in the entire Tiando Empire. After hearing this, Lin Xiao nodded and agreed, you're right. No wonder the Heavenly Do Empire is so weak. For many years, they haven't even had a title Douluo. It turns out that the talent of the students is so poor, but it makes sense. You. Dugu Yen was instantly silenced by Lin Xiao's words. Ah, Yen, Your Highness is also right. The Heavenly Do Empire has been at the bottom for so many years, without even a title Douluo. It's not Grandpa hitting you. Your Highness is about the same age as you, but Grandpa is not your opponent. Can you understand? Dugu Bo touched Dugu Yan's head and showed a kind smile. What? Grandpa, even you can't beat him. How could this be possible? Could it be that he's also a title Douluo? Dugu Yan covered her mouth with surprise in her eyes. The handsome blonde youth in front of her added a touch of mystery to her heart. Although your talent is not good, if you work hard to cultivate and sweat twice as much as others, the immortal grass cannot be given to you. Lin Xiao watched as Dugu Yan slowly spoke up. Dugu Yan's talent is not inferior, but it is naturally incomparable to Oscar in the golden generation of the Martial Soul Palace. The blue phosphorus snake martial soul is already a top-level martial soul among the poison attribute martial souls. With more cultivation, it will also be a major weapon on the battlefield in the future. Upon hearing Lin Xiao's words, Dugu Bo's heart was instantly filled with joy. He looked at Dugu Yan and quickly spoke up, Yan, thank you, Your Highness. Fairy grass is extremely precious and can enhance the Soul Master's qualifications. This is a valuable and priceless treasure. Upon hearing this, Dugu Yan's eyes twitched slightly. She suddenly realized that her dear grandfather seemed to have changed. It's like a dog that likes to lick people. After rushing for several hours on the journey, Lin Xiao and his companions arrived at the Tiando Royal Academy. As soon as I entered the college, I saw the fourth prince of the Empire Avalanche bullying other students, and there were many students around watching and cheering. Is this the best academy in the Heavenly Do Empire? I didn't expect it to be just some empty pockets. After seeing it, Lin Xiao spoke without hesitation. The Dugu Yan next to him also slightly measured his head and couldn't bear to look straight at it. End of this chapter. Chapter 10. The Avalanche of Death. You are listening at novelfull.audio. The source has no content or has errors.